So, welcome to the spring 2016 semester of Young Engineers of Today. My name is Miss Saunders. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I will be your instructor throughout the semester, and to those of you who will be doing your labs in Raleigh, I will be your teacher there too, so y'all get to meet me. To those of you doing your labs in Charlotte, probably won't get to meet me in person. You will get to have your class with Mr. Dubik or Mr. D. He's a great teacher. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy him. He might even show up to this webinar in a second, but we'll see how that goes. So, to those of you who have already done a semester with us, this presentation is going to look very familiar, so just bear with me. It's, the presentation where we have to get everything set up for the year, so no engineering really done today other than teaching you a little bit about the engineering method, which again some of you have already learned about. So, without further ado, let's get started. So do you like to take things apart? Would you find building a game more fun than playing the game? And oops, I see a question. Oops, not a question. It's an agreement. Curious about learning to solder or using epoxy or building a tent? I don't know what that's about, but do you enjoy math or science? Do you read sci-fi or fantasy? And if so, you are among friends. So I do see a question here. You have to leave at 4:30. You could be back at 6:30. Una, you've been in our lab or our classes before. You probably won't need to come back at 6:30 tonight. So don't worry. That's only for, don't even worry about it. But thank you for letting me know. So if you like any of these things, you are among friends. We're all very passionate about engineering. So I guess I should introduce myself a little bit more than what I did earlier. My name is Miss Saunders. I graduated from NC State, so you'll hear me talking some junk about UNC sometimes, but ignore that if you're a UNC fan. I got my degree in aerospace engineering, and I've found that teaching is incredibly awesome, and I love helping y'all learn, and I hope this semester will further that along. Your dad went to UNC, so did mine, so don't feel bad. I'm the odd one out. So the question is, do you use the same link? Oh, NC State. Oh, cool. Good to hear. Question, do we use the same link every week or different GoToWebinar for each session? I believe you can use the same link. Once you register for the webinars, they will send you links every time there is a webinar that you can click. So in your email, they'll send you links. There will be once or twice this semester where you will have to re-register for webinars. And that's just a fault of GoToWebinar software. But we will send you emails with the new links when they come out. And again, I will go into more about how all this stuff works in just a second here. So, what will we be doing this semester? We're going to be doing a bunch of cool stuff. We're going to be learning by doing. You'll be working with both your head and your hands. So we do have lab sessions that we will be using our hands in. Obviously, we'll be working with some stuff on the computer itself during these webinars. Good. We will work towards being technology creators and not just consumers of technology. So we want you to build and create and not just be a mindless technology drone. The way that this class is set up is we have class meetings, obviously, just like right now. We will have 1-hour webinars twice a week online. So almost every Monday and Wednesday, we will have webinars at 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. You do not have to go to 2 webinars in one day. You just need to go to 1 webinar on Monday and 1 webinar on Wednesday. I try to keep my classes pretty caught up with each other, so you can go to either one and not be fallen behind. But I don't know where I was going with that. But yes, there is no homework in these classes. There are no tests in this class. But we will casually expect you to have a digital portfolio created. So what I mean by a digital portfolio, that's basically just something that says, all right, this week we did this. Maybe if you had a lab, you can take pictures of what you created in your lab and put it on your portfolio. We encourage you to do this as a sort of way to look back on what you did, so you can jog your memory, you can show it off to your friends, you can show it off to maybe teachers in your future, and maybe even use it for college applications. But that's a little bit far ahead in your future. But it's never too early to start thinking about it. So this semester we're going to be covering some different topics than what we have in past semesters. Based on feedback that we got over the past couple semesters, we're not doing quite as much programming as we had before. Oh goodness. Another thing about me, I have a cat that walks all over my keyboard all the time. What is happening? I'll fix that later, I guess. Where am I? There we go. So we're not doing as much programming, but we will be doing a little bit. We're going to be doing a lot more building this semester, which I think I'm more of a builder myself, so it's going to be fun. But we're going to be building our very own underwater robot that we can actually steer and control. It's called the Sea Perch program, which is what we're going to be getting started with for your first lab sessions. We're going to be using a CNC machine, this guy right here, to make wooden puzzles. Basically, this machine lets you cut big pieces of wood very precisely. We will be creating a Star Wars chocolate mold, specifically the Millennium Falcon, using a desktop milling machine called an Other Mill, which I've never used before either. This will be fun. Here's where my cat got everything. We will be using something called the Astro Pi. So we are using Raspberry Pis again this semester. The Astro Pi is actually a mod for the Raspberry Pi that they have sent up onto the ISS. So, pretty crazy stuff. We are going to be programming the Raspberry Pis. I said not as much programming, but there is some. We're going to be making a Tetris game using that. We're going to be able to design our own custom t-shirts with a vinyl cutter, and print them with, anyway, sorry. We're going to be doing something called programming graphics. It's a graphic-based programming language, so you don't have to do typing. And this doesn't apply to you, but high schoolers get to choose their own projects to do. But again, not applicable to you. So, a whole bunch of things that we have to go through. The first of which, can you raise your virtual hand? So, there should be a little button with a hand on it. I want everybody to raise their hands right now, just to see that we all can get there. The icon should be, trying to figure out where it would be on your screen. It should be on your little webinar bit there. For you, it's on the right side. Do you need to do this since it was here last semester? Yes. To those of you that were here last semester, I will dismiss you in a little bit after we get through all this stuff. But stay for now because we will be needing to do some Edmodo codes and stuff. But basically, the reason I'm asking you to raise your hand is because occasionally I will have you raise your hand when we have undirected time to do stuff. So if I'm telling you to, hey, do a level in a video game or something, when you're done, raise your hand. That's the only reason I'm expecting that. You think you're on Edmodo already? I'll address that in just a second, okay? Even if you are on Edmodo, we'll still need to do something with that. You can put your hand down if you want, or I can put all your hands down, which I'll be doing occasionally as well. So if you're here, you have registered for the webinars at least through part of February, I think. Again, we will send you links and emails if you have to re-register. Again, it's not us, it's GoToWebinar that makes you do that. And the next thing is, have you registered on Edmodo? So if you were here last semester, you probably already have registered. If you were not here last semester, I want you to go to edmodo.com. So it's just this.com. If you already have an account, great. You'll still need to go to edmodo.com. If you don't have an account, go ahead, sign up. I'm already logged in, but sign up by clicking I'm a student, and it'll ask you all sorts of stuff here. When it says group code, for new people, you can type it in here. For people that have done webinars with us before, it will be on your Edmodo homepage. And if I see a question real quick. Question, you're using your dad's iPad, is that okay, or should you log in using a laptop? You'll be okay for today. There is some software that we will use later on that does not, probably wouldn't work with iPad. So you might need to find other accommodations if that's the case. For today, you're totally okay though, so no worries. So the group code for Edmodo, for the new folks and for the old folks, could be one of three things, and it depends on where you do your labs. If you do labs in Charlotte on Thursdays, this is your code. If you do labs in Raleigh, which will be on Saturdays, this is your code. And if you do the extended labs where you only go to Charlotte, once a month or so, this will be your code. Oh, come on, cat. So what Edmodo is, it's a way for us to get in contact with you, and a way for you to talk with us and maybe show us what you're doing, for example. You're saying it's not working? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'll show the codes again. So you typed in the group code here exactly as it's shown, whichever one you do, and it's not showing. It's not working, I mean. Try not entering in a group code. You can always enter it in later anyhow. And I'll show you how to do that also. Let me log in myself. I pause my screen so that you can keep the codes up. If you've logged in successfully, you'll see something that looks like this. Oh, it requires a group code? Huh. That's just weird because I know all the codes work because I'm connected to them, but Just sit tight for now. Closer to the end of class, I will work with you and see what's going on, okay? But you'll see something that looks like this. If something happens, like maybe go to webinars down, which did happen last year, we will post about it here. We will try to send emails out, but that doesn't always work out. I highly recommend checking Edmodo at least before your webinars. Before each webinar, just check it and make sure nothing new's going on. All right. So I'll put that back up at the end of class if you need the code again. The next thing on our checklist is creating a Gmail account. You don't have to do this right this second. Just make sure that you do have an email or a Gmail, because we will be using some Google apps later on. And if you've got a Gmail account already, wonderful. You don't have to create another one. No big deal. So just make sure that you get this done by next class, preferably if you don't already have one. And yeah, you did say that before. It's true. You don't necessarily need to have a Gmail. You could just create a Google account. It's your call. They do the same thing, except minus the email part, I think. But yeah. So go to the next slide. I would like for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I do indeed post the video of our webinars after every one, basically. So I'll post one on Monday, one on Wednesday each week. If you have to miss a webinar for any reason, it's not a big deal. I do expect you to watch the corresponding webinar that you missed, just so that you can be caught up. It's basically just like class. If you miss a day, you have to catch up. And if you're asking me questions and questions on something that I covered last class, I'm not going to be a very happy person. But it's okay. I do like to help. So the question is, what was the other group code on this? If you have lab in Charlotte on Thursdays, that's you. Raleigh on Saturdays, that's you. The other group is people that don't necessarily live in Raleigh and Charlotte. You could be, anywhere in North Carolina, but you will, once every month or so, be coming to Charlotte for your labs. This is the one that you would be using. This one is for Saturday labs. They're 6 hours long, I think, or something. Question: will the Charlotte lab this weekend be canceled if there is too much snow? Yes, it will be canceled. Oh, you got Edmodo working? Good. We always monitor the weather. There's supposed to be a pretty gnarly snowstorm coming through all of North Carolina. It's not just in Charlotte, but yeah, it is supposed to snow. If it does, we'll be in contact with you. When is Harrisburg's lab? Now that is a good question. Let's see. If canceled, will we do a makeup lab? Yes, we will. Yeah, no problem, Nuna. Alright, I'm thinking Harrisburg might actually be in the other category, because I don't think we're actually doing physical labs up in Harrisburg anymore. I think y'all will basically always be coming down to Charlotte, but only for these extended sessions. Yeah. Now that being said, what I didn't mention to y'all earlier is that not only do you have these 2 classes each week, but you will have a lab. It's generally once every 2 weeks, but that does change just depending on holidays or snow problems or stuff like that. Charlotte's first lab is going to be tomorrow night at 5 p.m. at Charlotte Latin's campus. So get excited about that. Of course, if it's snowing and awful outside, we might cancel it, but I don't think it's supposed to get that bad too quickly. The other lab, which is going to be that long lab, you do have one starting at 10 p.m. on Saturday, unless it does snow out. The email said you should join Charlotte and Moto. Do you know if you're having labs on Thursday or Saturday? Because if you're doing Saturday labs, you should do this one. Alright. So Raleigh's first lab will be the 30th at 11:30 a.m. So Charlotte tomorrow at 5, distance Saturday at 10 a.m., Raleigh the 30th at 11:30 a.m. Okay, Samuel, you'll be on the Charlotte one then. Yeah. So next thing on the checklist, like I said, either subscribe to our YouTube channel or know how to access our YouTube channel. So you're going to be at the Raleigh. Oh, cool. Well, I'll get to meet you then in about a week. To find us on YouTube, go to youtube.com. In the search bar, type in Young Engineers of Today. Life will be great. And it's snowing there? Excellent. I cannot wait. I love the snow so much. Finally, we will ask for your parents to like us on Facebook, if they do have a Facebook. Sometimes we do post some stuff on Facebook, but generally we use Edmodo. Yeah, so again, if you need links for these, you can check the YouTube video that I'll upload later to find the links for Facebook, YouTube, and just the general Edmodo page. Alright. So if you do have a Facebook account, you're more than welcome to like us on Facebook. Again, you just need to search Young Engineers of Today. We are the... I can't remember if our logo is the robot or just this logo, but you can like us there. Alright. So any questions on the format of the class, what you'll be doing in this class, any questions about, logging in, signing up for this stuff, anything of the sort? Alright. If you don't have questions, then I'm going to proceed. Actually, I'm not going to proceed because those of you who have already taken taken Young Engineers of Today webinars before have already seen the rest of this presentation. You don't need to watch it again unless you really want to. For that reason, if you have already taken classes with us before, you are free to go. If you have not yet taken classes with us, I do ask that you stay. Because this is all going to be review for you. Okay, and our Facebook is the Young Engineers of Today logo, so that's how you'll know it's us. And, alright. So what I'm going to talk about next is what's an engineer, what's it like to be an engineer, some miscellaneous stuff about engineering in general. So the good old dictionary defines engineering as the practical application of science and math, as in the design and construction of machines, vehicles, structures, roads, and systems. Basically, engineers will use math and science to improve the world. And there are some certain qualities that make good engineer. Okay. So, what does it take to be an engineer? Anybody have any ideas? Just go ahead and throw them out if you do. What do you have to be good at to become an engineer? Can you become a good engineer just because you have a really pretty singing voice? Because that doesn't really make any sense. Even though it does help a lot. Basically, you gotta be good at math and science. You don't have to be the best at it. You just have to be able to, yeah, there we go. Just like you said, working hard. You gotta be problem solvers that show perseverance. And you gotta be able to work as a team and communicate effectively. This is probably the most important one, actually. Surprisingly enough. Because bad things happen if you don't talk to each other when you're on an engineering team. So, to elaborate on the first one a little bit, you need to be strong in math and science. This picture is very, very accurate, actually. You gotta be studying a lot, basically. Engineering is the application of math and science principles. Because of this, it is absolutely essential that you have a foundation in these two subjects. We're not going to sit here in this class and make you crunch numbers. That's not very fun for anybody. But, I just lost my train of thought because I was reading a question. You communicate well but not work together well. Again, luckily in this class, there's only so often that you will be physically working in a team, and those are going to be at your labs. And it's sort of, you're going to have to learn how to do it. And that's what we're here for, to help you learn. So, like I said, all engineers, no matter what you do, you got to study hard in math and science. And if you're not the best at one of these two things, don't sweat it. Some positions require different expertise than other positions. So, don't worry if you're struggling. You just gotta, like I said, work hard. So the next facet is that you need to be able to work as a team and communicate effectively. Sort of very much unlike Dwight here. He's just being very pedantic for no good reason, but that's Dwight for you. To solve great problems, engineers of different backgrounds must come together to combine their expertise. So for the team to be successful, you need to be able to not just know the answer, but to share it in a way that others will be able to understand. So if you're not able to understand what somebody's trying to communicate for you, something like this might happen. It's just, basically this is just a little animation of the dangers of not communicating effectively. What it's trying to get at, though, is that communications and interpersonal relationships are vitally important. So finally, engineers need to be problem solvers who show perseverance. Alright. Engineers are presented with huge problems that they need to break down into manageable tasks. Basically, engineers are just big puzzle solvers. The problems that engineers deal with do seem very impossible when they first get started. So you gotta learn to work through it and persevere when things don't go your way. Things almost never go the way that you want them when it comes to engineering. You have to work around it. It's just something you gotta do. And we're here to teach you to do it. So we're going to talk about some jobs now. Terrible pun. There's all sorts of different fields of engineering: civil, mechanical, electrical, chemical, my favorite here, aerospace, structural, genetic, biomedical, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to keep going. There are more than just this. There are so many different places that you can go into. Right? So just because you're not good at coding doesn't mean you can't do something that's not as coding intensive. We don't want you to think of engineering as just a guy in a hard hat. Many different jobs are available within engineering, from doing research to being a team leader. So you have to find your strength and go with that. There are some pretty sweet perks of engineering, mainly the money. It is the highest earning profession overall. With a bachelor's degree, you'll get, after I think it's 4 years, the average pay is $75,000. If you only have a bachelor's, if you keep going back to school and get your master's, that goes up to almost $100,000. You'll also notice in this chart that almost all of these are what we call STEM centric. When I say STEM, that's an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So notice here that these STEM fields and business make a lot of money. So just saying, for your future, engineering is not all about the money, but it's definitely a sweet perk. So specifically in engineering, this is a little bit outdated of a map, or of a chart here. Petroleum engineering does look like it is the highest, but lately, not so much. But no matter where you go into, you're going to be making good money after a while. There's also very high job satisfaction in engineering, or in STEM fields in general. So this is a chart just saying, hey, these people answered satisfied in a poll about their jobs. Engineering is generally very high up there. Specifically, engineering is at 47. But half the jobs that are created today are as a direct result of technology. But technology also sort of takes away some jobs. So here I have a chart for you. It splits professions into low skill, medium skill, and high skill. Above this 0 mark, this is where there is job growth. So low skill jobs, food service, janitorial stuff, there are some jobs there. High skill jobs, such as engineering and other technical applications, have all sorts of job growth. Now, I don't know if there's any ladies here right now. Let's see here. Okay. Notice how much higher the opportunity for jobs are as a female in a technical occupation. Just saying. Similarly, the medium skill jobs, production, sales, sitting in an office, those jobs are going away in favor of automation. Alright, so ideally what you want to do in the future, look at these high skill jobs, these STEM jobs. That's where you need to be. So here we have an assembly line in a factory. We have engineered these robots to build cars for us that used to be built essentially by hand. Right, so we can produce a lot more with a lot less effort just because of these nice robots that we're building. And we'll be building a robot too this semester. So you'll sort of get to see how this works. Now, even though I've been lumping science and engineering together, while they're both technical occupations, they still go about how they do things a little bit differently. The scientific method is, you probably know a little bit about that just from your science classes, involves observation, so seeing something, making a hypothesis about what you're seeing, experiment to try to prove this hypothesis, analyze the data that you've collected, make a conclusion based on your hypothesis, and then you go to peer review, which is vitally important, just to make sure that your data is good and can be replicated. But engineering is a little bit different here. With engineering, you see a niche that can be filled by, maybe a robot or a computer or something. So you do research on it. Then you plan your design based off of your research. You build and test a prototype. And this prototype might not work, it might work, you might have to go back into these 2 stages up front. But after you get a working model, then you can commercialize it, then you can sell it. So engineering is more creating things, scientific method is just testing things. So a little bit more about that here. I'm not going to dwell too long on that. Now, you probably can't see this too well, but this picture is saying, hey, what do employers value in candidates? And in order of importance, the very first one is communication, the second is teamwork, the third is interpersonal skills. So again, you do need to be able to communicate. And that's our goal here, to get you some education about stuff like that. Anyways, I digress. Something a little bit more fun. We do have a couple of games that you can play just in the interim before classes get really intense. For example, if you want to go to this website, it'll be in your YouTube video if you want to. If you don't want to copy it on this link right now. This is just a big old Rube Goldberg machine. Anybody familiar with those machines? Just a big old chain reaction that you build? You are? Good. Well, you can build your own, essentially, with this little game here. A couple more games that I found. This one is sort of a puzzle game where you build sort of like chassis, like you would use for cars, and try to go through puzzles. And this is the bridge builder one, a little bit different than the bridge building that we did last semester, but still some fun stuff here. So don't be afraid to go on the internet. There are all sorts of resources for you, in addition to the things we go over in our class. But again, my goal is for you to have fun this semester, and I don't know, maybe find your passion. So that said, are there any questions on the stuff that I've gone over today? Just, literally anything. You're free to ask, as long as it's sort of relevant to the class. Alright, if you don't have any questions, you are free to go for the day. I will put these Edmodo codes back up just in case you haven't yet entered them in. I guess one thing I should add is my email, just in case anybody needs it. This is how you can get in contact with me, this or through Edmodo. I'm decent at answering emails. I need to get better, and that's my goal, to get better. The question is, where do we go for our labs in Raleigh? You are going to a place on NC State's campus called the Science House. We will send you directions to it before our lab does happen. It's probably going to be next Thursday that we send you these directions. It's on Centennial campus. I'm going to put up some signs so you can find it sort of in a weird spot. The question is, how long are the labs? Usually your labs will be 2 hours. I believe that the folks in Raleigh do go down to Charlotte one weekend where we will have a 6-hour lab. And the reason we go down to Charlotte is because Mr. Dubik has really nice facilities, but only that lab will be 6 hours. You can't find my Gmail? What do you mean? You looked it up? Let me make sure I got the right email then. Did I get that right? No, that is my correct email. Do a test real quick and see if you can email it. I'm pretty sure that you can, but that's just kind of odd. But it might just be because I don't have my name and everything attached to it. Okay, cool. So, any more questions, feel free to ask them. If you don't have any, you are free to leave. We will have a webinar on Monday at 4 and 6 p.m. And I look forward to seeing you all then. So I'll be on to answer your questions. Otherwise, have a good weekend, y'all. Yeah, no problem, Gates.